Welcome to the Reality of Herbal Therapy podcast. Today, we want to talk a little bit about ginger. So, you ever have something that kind of like comes up often in life? So, Lynn was just recently reading a book called The Glucose Goddess, and she talked about making a drink with ginger, cinnamon, splash of vinegar, like a tablespoon of vinegar.
Yeah, a tablespoon of vinegar and about 16 ounces of water.
And about 16 ounces of water. And what that does is it kind of like evens out your blood sugar for the day.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that one. But we also would do a drink where we did fresh ginger, a half a lemon, and 16 ounces of water. So you boil water, and we did that for a while, which is amazing for digestion, prepares your stomach for food. It was just, and I really liked the taste of it. That one was pretty yummy. And we started doing some other things, and I started taking travel, not just for the ginger, but just I'm taking one travel a day to kind of boost my metabolism. And so kind of like all these things come together, and I'm like, I should really talk about ginger and what it is and why it is. And so I've got Lynn here with me today. If you remember, she's Dr. James's oldest daughter and married to the greatest guy in the world. So let's talk a little bit about ginger. If you're not familiar with ginger, it's the root of a plant that we use. They have all the fancy words. It's called a rhizome, which it's like a big, thick root. And it basically came from Southeast Asia, where there were other plants, and they cultivated it and created this together. And that was about 5,000 years ago. The people in Southeast Asia started using it, and they used it in their food and for medicine and other things like that. And as they kind of like spread out, they took this ginger with them because of all of the health benefits that it had. And there's some people that see that it made it all the way, like they left Southeast Asia and went off into the Pacific Islands and towards India and stuff. So it's really common in Chinese food, Indian food. It's used a lot, but it went clear to Hawaii. So ginger is used in some Hawaiian foods because it got that far in the South Pacific. So it grows all over, but it's a really useful plant that is really wonderful to have. So ginger, let's talk a little bit about the health benefits of ginger. If you have the book, The Reality of Herbal Therapy, under ginger, it gives this list of things that ginger does. That it basically it helps with your circulatory system. It helps with cramps. It helps ease stomach pain, stomach cramps, gas, bloating. It just does a lot of really great things.
Circulation.
It helps with circulation. So because of all these different things that it helps with. Now it's not like a cure-all. If you heard me talk about when I was younger and mom had somebody gave her a cure-all, a bottle of something that would cure everything, and it was just bentonite clay and water, which, if somebody says it's a cure-all, be kind of leery. But ginger really does some great things because of what it gets moving within the body. So there's several things that it does. It's actually in, 5 of our formulas, which is pretty like, there's some herbs that we use that are in single formulas, but ginger is one that is in multiple of the formulas just because of what it does. So, you've probably heard if you go flying and stuff, if you're getting motion sickness, to get a little bit of ginger ale because it calms the stomach. So the ginger actually helps as a digestive aid, but it helps with nausea and motion sickness. So that's why Dr. James uses it in travel and Zyme, because in both of those formulas, so travel basically helps with the motion sickness, but travel also helps with increasing your metabolism, increasing your blood flow throughout the body. which is very helpful. And then Zyme is just a great formula for helping with digestion and stuff like that. Got anything to add, Lynn? Those are Lynn has her formulas that there are some, like everybody has their formulas that they need, that these are the ones that they take all the time. Travel and Zyme are two that are not high on Lynn's list that she uses all the time. So, but we'll hit a couple others that she does use all the time. So another thing that ginger does is it anti-inflammatory. It helps with joint pain, stiffness. It's helpful with arthritis. If you're taking Arthrite, and there's some things you can add to Arthrite. So, if you have a lot of grittiness in your joints, then adding Bladney along with Arthrite will help it work better. If you've got a lot of pain, and if you've got difficulty in motion and it's not healing really fast, you add Tissue Mend with the Arthrite. But if you have a lot of pain and stiffness, adding one travel along with Arthrite when you take it really helps to help with that pain. It helps give you that motion and stuff.
It helps with the inflammation.
The inflammation
also helps to clear out the inflammation, which is part of the pain and the stiffness and the,
yeah. So another thing that ginger does, it's really important, and this one basically, I think everybody takes this formula, but the ginger basically has antioxidants that help with the stress in the body, but it also helps clean out the lymphatics. It helps the immune system be stronger. It gives your body what it needs to be able to fight off any viruses, any molds, any funguses in the body. Ginger is really helpful with that.
That's why it's infection.
And that's why it's infection. Yep. And seems like everybody takes Fection. I mean, that's like, for one reason or another, just about everybody takes Fection.
We take that one constantly, and most people need it all the time, especially our school teachers or anybody who's around kids, or a variety of all sorts of people coming.
Yeah. We had somebody that was flying to England, and they were concerned about being exposed to something because they were going to be locked in a little metal tube for 10 hours or something with a bunch of strangers. And so and she was like really, really concerned about catching something. And I was like, well, if you take Fection before you get on the plane, like for several days before you get on the plane, so your immune system's really strong, and then take it, on the day that you're flying and stuff, that it wouldn't be a problem. Not that it wouldn't be a problem, but you're giving your body what it needs to fight off whatever's coming. So there's the next thing that ginger does is it helps with pain relief. Dr. James loves to share the story of his daughter who was having horrible, horrible menstrual cramps. And so and he's like, well, if you took your tonic F like you should, you wouldn't be having this problem. And he realized that he didn't have a very good bedside manner with his own daughter. But she was brilliant and smart, and she's like, So she went and got his books, and she's like, looked through all of his herbal books to find which herb would help with menstrual cramps. And the herb that she found was ginger, because it says ginger will help open up the ovaries. A lot of times menstrual cramps is a case of you've got a lot of backed up things within the female reproductive system, and the ginger helps open that up so that it can flow freely, and you can get through your cycle. So she was like, well, ginger's it. So which one of the formulas has the most ginger? And that's travel. So she took 2 travel, and instantly within half an hour, everything opened up. And then it was like the relief, there was all this pressure and all these cramps and all this pain, and it opened up, and she was just like, oh, it was so nice. So Dr. James really loved sharing that story, partly because he learned the value of a bedside manner, but also of listening to somebody and helping them with their needs. So
I love that also because Dr. James and Grandma James, my mom, Veronica James, always instilled in their children the desire to learn, seek, and know. And they didn't see Dad as the all-knowing authority. And if he said tonic F is all I need, I'm going to stop there. No, no, no. They know they're going to, if they want it, they're going to research it. They're going to find out the answers. The answer happened to be in his book, but still, I love that because that was something that they definitely taught. They didn't want us to think that an expert always knows everything and has every answer. They taught us to listen to our bodies and to the things that we know and to research and to get the answers for ourselves also, so that it's not just whatever the doctor says, that that's the end all be all. And I love that my sister was willing to do that research, knew that that was okay, and to do that and to take her health into her own hands, and that he was okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. But also, so for people that don't need travel or whatever, if they just happen to have ginger, whether it's powder or get the fresh ginger, making a ginger tea would help also with those cramps. So as far as getting rid of cramps, that's why ginger tea is a big one.
Yep. And you don't have to have any of these formulas that I've been talking about on hand. Like if you've got inflammation, just a ginger tea, which we'll talk a little bit about later, how to make the ginger tea, which is extremely simple and stuff. But anything, like if you've got an upset stomach, doing a ginger tea, like, sometimes a lot of people will come in with questions, and sometimes the answer is just what's sitting at the grocery store, like parsley or ginger or whatever. I mean, sometimes what you have easy access to is what's and as Dr. James always said, fresh is always better. So fresh parsley or fresh ginger is going to do you a lot more than, the powders that we have that's been put in a capsule.
Yeah.
Encapsulated.
Yeah. Well, I love also the idea of using herbs in your cooking as a general rule. I mean, I know my whole family doesn't choose to take pills constantly for everything that ails them, but I, as a mother, can use herbs in all my cooking, and they get it whether they like it or not, and it tastes yummy. I mean, you may not like it by itself, as far as not just ginger, but some of those other things, but mixing it in with things that we daily eat and things that we feed our families can help to boost their health, even if they don't necessarily take a pill or drink a tea. That they can get it in other ways. You can sneak it into things that help.
Which is always an amazing thing.
Something I'd like to learn how to make is candied ginger. I've heard of candied ginger and stuff, and it sounds intriguing to me. Maybe someday I'll try it. Making it. I know I could buy it, but I'd like to learn how that's done.
Yeah. So one other thing, there's another thing about ginger is because it helps with circulation. And we mentioned at the beginning that Lynn's reading the book about blood sugar and doing that tea with the sugar and the cinnamon, or the ginger and the cinnamon, to help with your blood sugar. And because of that, it can also help with, if you've got increased blood flow, that also helps with any brain issues, memory issues, and things like that. But one of the things that Dr. James always wanted to mention is that if you are taking prescription medication, a lot of those have a time release factor. And some herbs like ginger, cayenne, things like that will burn through the time release factor and dump the entire amount of medicine all at once. So it's not that that it's a problem. You just want to make sure that you don't have them both in your stomach at the same time. So if you're doing anything with ginger or cayenne or anything that will burn through that time release, you want to make sure there's at least an hour difference between it. Whether you do the prescriptions and then wait an hour and do your ginger, or do your ginger and then wait an hour and do your prescriptions. You just want to make sure you don't mix those at the same time.
Travel for sure has both of those in it. Travel would be one I'd be cautious around with medication. Yep,
travel and varicose, both of them. Infection has a little bit of ginger, but it's one that you still, it's better to be safe than have. And it's not like it's going to be the end of the world doing it, because here in New Mexico, if they told people taking prescriptions, hey, don't do it with your cayennes or anything with capsaicin, and everybody looked at them with a blank stare. But if you
Wait, I
said
can't take my pills when I eat green chili?
exactly, so if you're having your breakfast and your burrito with your green chili on it, and it's pretty spicy, it's going to burn through it just as much as these herbs will. So, it's not like it's the end of the world, but it's something to be aware of and to avoid if at all possible. So let's talk about, Lynn mentioned, so we talked about the tea. Lynn, you want to share how to make ginger tea? Because you're better at it than I am.
Well, the way I make ginger tea. So I personally prefer I just boil water in I have a hot pot on the cupboard that I just boil water in. And then I slice up some ginger, depending on the spiciness you want. But for 16 ounces, I probably do 3 or 4 slices of ginger.
And they're about a quarter-inch thick?
Quarter-inch thick, probably. And typically they're 3/4 to an inch across as far as size-wise, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So 3 or 4 of those in my 16 ounces of water. So I put my ginger in my teacup, and recently I've really liked it with a cinnamon stick in it. Oh my goodness, that's yummy.
And you only need like an inch of, you don't have to do
only an inch of cinnamon. Yeah.
Just an inch of a cinnamon stick.
Yeah. But so you boil water in the pot, then you dump it over your ginger, and in my case, cinnamon. And you need to let it set for 10 to 15 minutes for it to do its thing, to steep, to get its nutrients out and stuff like that. Some people want to speed that process up, so they actually boil their water on the stove and put their ginger in their water, boil it just a little bit longer, done. You don't have to wait that 15 minutes. But it can kill some of the properties that are in ginger. So I personally like to just dump water over it, and then while I'm cooking breakfast, it steeps and sits there. And I do it if I'm doing it in the morning or whatever. And it's totally fine. Once I get that ready, some people like to add sweetener to it. My kids like it with peppermint in it. So a peppermint tea mix with the ginger. So ginger is added to whatever other flavors. And you like the lemon and ginger. Yeah. And that one's just a really good, especially first thing in the morning, digestive thing to jumpstart your system and stuff. So it's really good that way. But I sometimes make up a large enough batch in the morning that I can sip on it throughout the day, because I've noticed it helps with my blood sugar and my cravings and stuff all day. So I make up a big enough batch that I can drink it all throughout the day, and it doesn't have to stay hot. I could actually even put it in the fridge and drink it for the next probably 2 days, and it would still be good for me. Then I don't have to make it up every time I want it. It's something that's already done. Yeah. Because it's good hot or cold or whatever. I prefer it hot during the winter, warm during the winter, but at the end of the day, it's still really yummy.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed with doing it, because we have it in the cup and it has the ginger in it, and I just leave the ginger in it all day. And when you get down to that very bottom, sometimes it can get spicy.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, we're New Mexican through and through. Spicy's yummy, but so there can be a little bit of a spice there. So when making teas, Dr. James always said, with herbs and herbs, flowers, anything that's soft, at least 5 minutes. Roots, barks,
5 minutes for what? To let it steep?
At least, yeah, steep for at least 5 minutes. Roots, barks, anything that's really tough, like ginger, which is a root, you want at least 10 minutes for it, like Lynn said, for it to get all of its yumminess out.
Yeah, and something I would suggest too, like you were saying, when you get to the bottom of the tea, the ginger is just really spicy at that point. If you are kind of sensitive to spicy, when it gets to the level you do like, just fish out the ginger and discard the ginger, and you can still have your tea right at the point you liked it at, rather than, because if I stuck it in the fridge for 3 days, you could bet by the end of the 3 days, it was going to be way spicier than on day one.
Yeah. So let's see, we talked about the ginger, cinnamon. The ginger lemon is really good. The ginger lemon and just a little bit of honey is really good, not only for digestive, and like I said, it primes your digestive tract for the day or whatever, but it also is really amazing if you have a sore throat or, or a cold or anything like that. It is so soothing and everything. The lemon and the honey along with the ginger, it just really
My
helps.
mom will put a pinch of cayenne in there with that.
Yeah.
And it just, if you want to clear the sinuses and if you like that spicy, or if you don't, but your sinuses are bad enough that you want it gone now, a pinch of cayenne, a small, small pinch of cayenne.
It depends on how hot your cayenne is. So like New Mexico green chili is between, like they have the scale, it's between 45,000 and 90,000. And the cayenne that Veronica, Dr. James's wife, liked would be like 150,000. I mean, we're talking some hot stuffs.
Yeah. So you only wanted 3 grains of cayenne in yeah.
Yeah. But so adding the cayenne is also a really good one. So like Lynn talked about, doing your teas, you can also use that tea water if you're making like a smoothie or something like that, to like infuse in your water. That's always a good way to get the ginger in. Also, another, like Lynn said, cooking with it. I was watching somebody making something on social media, and somebody had like, the way they use it in Oriental cooking is, they had sliced it up like really thin and stuck it all in the stir fry or whatever it was. It was some Oriental thing, and that just like sounded really good.
We may have to try that.
Yeah, it just sounded really good. So I'd really encourage you to try and use ginger. There's all sorts of stuff, and it's really inexpensive. It's it's not much to buy a root at the grocery store. I mean, just a few dollars or something like that.
Yeah, I like to get it when it's in season at Costco because it's usually a pretty good quality of it. And I've been shocked. The box that they have it in, it's in the refrigerator section.
Yeah.
Actually stores for a long time in my fridge, and I get to use that ginger.
And it's nice having it on hand like that.
Yeah, we use it a lot more when I have it on hand already than when I have to remember to go pick it up.
If you wake up with a sore throat, it's like you don't want to have to like go to the grocery store for that sore throat tea. Just get it out of the fridge and stuff.
Yeah. So anybody could leave comments in this podcast.
Yeah, tell us how you use it.
Use ginger so we can try it, because I know I already want to try the candied, and I think the slivers and cooking it into something, that would be fun to try. I've just not. I have it as a powder that if a recipe calls for it, I put it in there, but I've never tried cooking and fresh ginger. So that'll be fun. The powdered ginger kind of loses that. It's like a citrusy flavor. Well, one time I needed ginger bad, and I didn't have ginger, and I needed the tea, and I put the powder in a tea. Talk about some spicy, gritty tea. I put too much in to start with. It was just way too much. But I really like the fresh better than the powder. The powder was okay. It helped me in a bind, but yeah, that was that. Nobody else wanted to drink my tea.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time with us to talk about ginger. Really encourage you to like try and get some more ginger into your everyday diet. However, whether it's through herbs or adding it through in your cooking, in your drinks, your teas, just adding that will really change your metabolism and your circulation. And it's great this time of year because it's like right now it's pretty darn cold, and increasing your circulation helps with that, being able to deal with that cold.
And we're typically more sedentary.
Yeah, we're not outside as much, not as much sunlight.
Yeah, so it helps too.
Yeah. Yep. So I really appreciate you taking some time with us. Like and subscribe however you found us, and we will talk to you next time. It is not the intent of professional herbal instruction or any persons associated therewith to diagnose or prescribe. The intent is only to offer herbal information for your consideration. In the event you use this information without your doctor's approval, you are prescribing for yourself, which is your God-given right. But professional herbal instruction or any persons associated herewith assume no responsibility. The claims and statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.